I am convicted rape of a child which I didn't commit. There is not a single piece of evidence of such crime ever occurred, and there is mountain of evidence that it is a fabricated case by my wife and her sister. My wife tried many times to get rid of me, but for some reasons it didn't happen. She never worked in her life. I bought a house, and perhaps that was one of the factors to get rid of me in her earliest convenience. She tried numerous times to deport me, but she was unsuccessful. Then she made a well-thought plan, where I shouldn't be able to escape at any cost. I was living in white neighborhood where 80% are white. The memory of 9/11 was fresh, and she wanted to get full advantage because I am an Asian, Muslim, non-English speaker, and top of that I am from Pakistan. My English was very poor. This sounds like an amazing favorable condition, so she struck me while the iron was hot and got rid of me forever. By the way, I am her third husband. On January 14, 2008, I was sentenced to 280 months in prison.
A dream became true when a middle school girl, Aram Mirza, got married to an educated groom from Pakistan. The couple had one daughter, Raja Hussain, but the couple were having difficulties to live together. After groom received his resident permit, he divorced her. The Aram was alone. After a while she found a business person and got married in a religious ceremony. The luck was not in her side. For some unknown reasons that marriage was also dissolved. Now Aram was looking third husband. She was desperate and wanted a fresh start. Now there was a search for a new groom by her family. Her brother-in-law suggested Zahid Khan to Aram, but he is much younger and uneducated. Zahid was not an ideal candidate, because she was looking a husband like her previous husbands, where Zahid is a car mechanic and doesn't speak English. Her biological clock was ticking, and she was desperate to get married. She suggested to her brother-in-law didn't disclose to Zahid that she has been married twice before. Eventually she got married to Zahid and brought him to USA. From day first, Zahid, realized, it is difficult to live with her. She imposed some unusual types of restrictions on me. For example, you shouldn't come to the room if someone is talking to me and doesn't know you. You always introduce yourself as a car businessman, not a car mechanic. You are not allowed to fund your family, nor you can open your salary envelope. You are not allowed to handle any money transaction because are an illiterate person and leave everything to me. The life was just a hell. On July 4, 2000 my first child boy was born, and on July 6, 2001 my second child, girl, was born. My life was a hell, and my stepdaughter made my life even more miserable by telling her grandmother that Zahid is treating my mother very badly. I requested my wife to send her to her father, which made my life even worse. My wife had no interest in me. Her objective was complete. She had 2 kids from me and now she wanted to get rid of me. As far I remember, there was not a single day when we didn't fight. My life was a real hell.
On May 22, 2002 I applied for unconditional resident permit, but her wife, Aram Mirza, was not happy. She didn't want I should get an unconditional resident permit at any cost. My wife is a real manipulator and a wicked liar. She doesn't care if she is telling under oath or not, so she wrote a letter to immigration that we are separated even she was living with me.
To whom it may concern. Zahid Khan has an appointment on March 28, 2003 at 2:30 p.m. We are unable to make this appointment. Aram Mirza, his wife, is not sure at this time to file a petition for him. I am going out of town for a couple of months due to temporary separation from my husband. Please grant us a new interview date for at least couple months apart, so relationship is clear between us. Thank you. Aram Mirza. 425-462-8363 SS number 394.94.8147.
I again scheduled another appointment with the immigration office, but again she wrote a letter to the immigration: we are temporarily separated, and I will be out of the state on those dates. Please note, she never worked in her life and I was the only one who was supporting the family. I lived with her 8 years and she never left her home excluding visiting her family.
U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. Termination of conditional permanent resident status and denial of Form I-751. On May 22, 2002, you filed a petition to remove the conditions on residence, Form 1-751, under Section 216 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, as amended. You are seeking permanent residence based on a marriage to a U.S. citizen, and filing the petition together with your spouse. On January 7, 2003, you and your wife, Aram Mirza, were scheduled for an interview to remove the conditions on your residence. Your spouse appeared for the interview without any type of identification. The officer conducting the interview then rescheduled you for another date, specifying that your spouse needed to bring picture identification to the next interview. In addition, you were issued an 1-72 request for evidence, requesting you to provide documents showing cohabitation and commingling of finances. Our records at this time indicate that you have failed to comply with the above request for documents. You and your wife were requested to appear on March 7, 2003, and March 28, 2003, for an interview in connection with the petition. You and your spouse failed to appear to both rescheduled interviews. On March 28, 2003, the service received a letter from your wife stalling that she was not able to attend the interview, and you and your spouse temporarily separated. On January 19, 2005, you and your wife were scheduled for another interview regarding your marital relationship. You and your wife failed to appear for the scheduled appointment again. The service received a statement from your spouse stating that your spouse are still separated. Section 216d(1) of the Immigration and Nationality Act, as amended, states in pertinent part. Each petition shall contain the following facts and information: that the qualifying marriage 1. was entered into in accordance with the laws of the place where the marriage took place. 2. has not been judicially annulled or terminated, other than through death of a spouse. 3. was not entered into for the purpose of procuring an alien's admission as an immigrant. Marriages entered to circumvent immigration laws are not approvable. Sec. Matter of M8 I and N December 217, which states in pertinent part, where no bona fide husband-wife relationship was intended, the marriage is deemed invalid for immigration purposes regardless of whether it would be considered valid under the domestic laws of the jurisdiction were performed. End.
After receiving denial letter, I was living in USA as an illegal alien with my wife. She wanted that way, so I should live like a slave. I shouldn't have any right to my children. I am working illegally and providing her food and place to live. Now there was a tax time to file federal tax and my wife was looking funds from return taxes. I was afraid of deportation and worried about taxes to pay my wife. She was not able to apply alone but must apply as a joint income tax. Now she had no choice but to make me legal. So, she went to immigration and told that we are again together. My immigration status was restored. Now I am again legal alien. I again applied for permanent resident status. We always lived together and always applied joint income tax. Now even I had legal immigration status, I still need to apply for unconditional resident permit, which I did. We received a letter from immigration to appear for final interview. My wife has very close understanding with her sister Sadober. She is a mastermind of the family. It was necessary to get her approval before I get resident permit. She is a very smooth talker and an excellent manipulator. Both sisters were talking my fate of my future. At the end my sister-in-law asked me $9,000 for immigration interview. Where I must bring that kind of money. My pay was about $25/hour and I gave my pay envelope without opening it. At the end she suggested $6,000 for interview, take it or leave it. I was only able to raise $4,000. She suggested to send that money to California. I went to Walmart/Western Union to send that money, but there was a problem. That time you can't send money over $1,000, as I recall. I called her from Walmart explaining the problem. So, she instructed me to give that money to my wife. I paid $4,000 to my wife and she went for immigration interview. The interview went well and my case was approved for unconditional resident permit. Now at home I was waiting for my green card, which I never received. I was puzzled why I am not receiving my green card. I have a problem, I can't read/write English. I realized this is a real problem. In this picture my wife is wearing a headscarf. She is not a religious person in any sense but will use religion to get sympathy. She has alopecia areata and wears a wig. I bought that house where she is living now. Sometimes I wonder buying that house was my fault and now I am in jail. I never asked her to marry me, but she was a desperate woman to have kids. If she is so ashamed of me, why she married to me at first place? One day I was outside of my home and saw my neighbor, Miss Lori Anderson, having problem with her car. I offered her my help and fixed her car. I introduced myself and became good friends. Just observing I realized she is a single lady, living with her daughter. She was a sweet lady and enjoyed talking with her about jobs, weather and among other things in life. We just became good friends. I told her that I haven't received my resident permit. She called the immigration office and found out that they had sent my resident permit about 3 months ago. After receiving this information, I confronted my wife and got my resident permit from her. I hired an immigration attorney for U.S. citizenship, where immigration attorney's office address was given for corresponding. I was unable to trust my wife, who always thought me as a trash. Now my wife will not read any letter from immigration. In July there was a wedding in her family and many people came to our home to attend the wedding. My mother-in-law, my uncle and my sister-in-law were here to attend the wedding. While mother-in-law here, my stepdaughter, Raja Hussain, was telling her grandmother that I am not nice to her mother in every conversation between me. I didn't have any close relationship with my mother-in-law and she always had arguments. She told me, don't even think you are safe by green card, we have power to deport you anytime. She spelled curse on me, but I always ignored her due to her age. There is no doubt there was a friction between me and Raja Hussain. I suggested to my wife that my stepdaughter should live with her father, not with us. Her father never paid a dime to her and I was providing everything for her needs. My house is a 2-story building. It is not actual picture of the house, but on the second floor there is an open place where we have a TV and sofas. Please note, on July 18, 2007 there were 6 adults and 3 children in the house including me. Being a parent, I must take care of my children. As usual, I went upstairs to see my children. The time was about 1:30 a.m. All 3 children were sleeping outside of their rooms, an open place, because my mother-in-law and her cousin were sleeping there. I put blanket on my daughter where Raja Hussain woke up and started to have argument with me. The mastermind, my sister-in-law, Sanabir, came upstairs and took her down. My uncle asked me about yelling and told the same story. Next day my sister-in-law, Sanabir, took Raja Hussain to California. My wife, Aram Mirza, never came upstairs, where she later told that I touched Raja Hussain private parts while 6 adults were at home and Raja Hussain was sleeping outside on sofa. Is this a believable story? Please note, Raja Hussain is 14-year-old child and she told to the Child Protection Agency whatever her mother told her to say. Her mother, Aram Mirza, tried many attempts to deport me. Regards what her mother told to say about me, but she is sister of my children. Even today I don't blame her in any sense. In my heart she is still my daughter because raised her like my daughter. Next day I didn't see any problem and my wife went to see movie with my kids. End of the week she asked me to give my green card and passport, which I refused. The both sisters made some plan, which I was not aware. My wife didn't show at night and things at home started to disappear, for example jewelry. Our common account was empty, which was for mortgage payments. I borrowed some money and again for mortgage payments, which also disappeared. As I recall, Sanabir went back to California on July 19, 2007. My mother stayed 2 or 3 days, stayed with us and went back home, Wisconsin, and became seriously ill. That time both sisters decided to punish me not being kind to her, but I am responsible for her illness. They already made that decision and called the Child Protection Agency. If you are telling truth you don't have to remember anything else, you must make a story. The story of my wife, Aram Mirza, was not consistent. When you call police or any other such authority, they record your conversation and make a log of your conversation, and you can't deny. If you look her history of police calls, you will find that she is always quick to call police, but if some asks her why you didn't call police when that incident happened, her reply was that we are Muslims. Do Muslims not to report a rape? She made a careful plan and thought about a week, so I should be in jail for a long time. Her objective was that I shouldn't see my children. Same thing she did with her first husband. Call the police and never let him, his child Raja Hussain. Both sisters reported after 7 days and 13 hours after careful planning, so I shouldn't able to escape. In few days my mother-in-law passed away. My wife was out of state for her mother's funeral. On August 13, 2007, when I was coming from my work, the police stopped and arrested me for a rape of a child. I was confused which child, something was wrong. Later, I found out that my wife reported rape of my stepdaughter. I called her from jail, which she didn't pick the phone, but I left 2 messages for her. I was also puzzled why she waited 7 days 13 hours for a rape while living with me. My wife and my sister-in-law both reported that I had full sexual erection. There were 5 other adults at home that time. Police questioned 3 adults where my sister-in-law and my wife had same accusation where her husband didn't say anything about that instance. That is all police record and anybody can check my story. I called my immigration attorney, but she was out of office. I got a message from immigration attorney, not to say anything without presence of an attorney. I had another problem. My English was very poor, and I needed someone to help me. Now in jail the police were going to interview. Here is my interview.
This is the statement of Zahid A. Khan. The date is August 13th, 2007, and the time is now 8:14 p.m. I'm Detective Martin of the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office. This statement is being recorded at the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office South Precinct. There are 3 persons present in the room. For the purposes of voice identification, would each person present, besides Zahid, the person who is giving this statement, please state your name and occupation one at a time.
Detective Christopher Light, Snohomish County Sheriff's Office.
Zahid, do you understand that this statement is being recorded?
Yes.
Do I have your permission to record the statement?
Yes, sir.
What's your full name and spell it,
Phone
please?
number is 425, home phone number 425-415-1212.
And what's your full name?
Full name Zahid Aziz Khan.
Can you spell that for me, please?
ZAHID-AZIZKHAN.
And what's your address?
2333 194th Street, Southeast, Pathal 98012.
And your home telephone number?
425-415-1212.
And your birthday?
30th August 1972.
Since you are here and you're not free to leave, then I'm going to read these to you. I'll have you read them along with me. You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Silent means I can talk by attorney, or what?
We'll get to that one in just a second. This means you have the right to remain silent, meaning you don't have to talk to me.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
I understand what means that.
Okay. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand that?
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Okay. You have the right at this time to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. Do you understand that?
You have the right to... yeah, I understand this one.
Okay. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish. Do you understand that one?
Yeah, I understand.
You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand that one?
You can decide at any time. Exercise, I don't understand these rights. I can say question, what means, I can say yes or no? What means that?
You can decide at any time to exercise any of these rights, 1, 2, through 4, and not answer any questions or make any statements.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
I understand, sir.
Okay. Do you understand each of these rights I've explained to you?
Yes.
And having these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to us now?
I can talk to my attorney, I think.
Okay. You don't want to talk to me?
Yeah, I think I better talk with my attorney because I already informed my family problems. She is not here. She is on vacation 1 week. She gonna back. Better be talk with her.
Your attorney is a female, is what you're saying?
Female, and I leave it her message. She's on vacation. She said, don't go anywhere with your, don't contact with your family member like wife or kids. And her assistant said, just wait until she comes and she can give me her right legal advice what I can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. So down here, I'm going to have you sign right here saying that we read those to you. Down here, I'm going to put that you requested your attorney.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Sign here.
This just means that you understood your rights.
Yes, sir.
And you exercised the right to an attorney.
Okay.
And I'm not going to ask you any more questions.
Attorney, I can go through by attorney.
Right.
Attorney can take care of everything. Yes.
Let's see. We'll just stop there. There's some other signature spots down here, but we won't do those ones. The time is now 8:19 p.m. And this concludes this statement.
Around 23rd of July 2007 we received a call from Wisconsin that my mother-in-law is seriously ill and might not able to make it. She had a lot of health problems. Regardless how you look at it, she was just like my mother. I wanted to see her and called my brother-in-law in Wisconsin to see her, but he told me not to come here else I will kill you. Please see 07 to 17938 Statement of Lori, our next-door neighbor, by Police Officer Martin, page 6 of 33, Lori. Because when Zahid was, Mona's mother was here visiting in June and into early July, they had had words back and forth and Mona's mom had said to Zahid, "May your family die early," and she was calling him a stupid mechanic over and over again. Zahid, I don't know the exact words, but it was something like "This curse is on you, you'll die early." And then within a few days, Mona's mother was dead. On July 25 Mona decided to punish me for bringing her mother to near deathbed. So my wife Erin Mirza called CPS where Miss Kimberly S. Johnston received the call, page 279 State of Washington v. Zahid Khan November 28, 2007. Anybody can read this testimony because that is in court documents. Page 285 line 19. My wife told Kimberly S. Johnston that she walked into her husband and he was naked kissing and touching, Raja Hussain, her privates. That happened on 22nd of July 2007. She always tells other people about Muslim culture to get sympathy. She told Kimberly S. Johnston as well as a Muslim. Wow, but Raja Hussain was in California. This doesn't make any sense. My wife Erin Mirza and my sister-in-law Sanbor Mirza changed the date because July 18, 2007 is better date for conviction. My wife, Erin Mirza, already prepared Raja Hussain for interview. Now Ashley Wilsk's turn. Her job is to put innocent people in jail with forensic interview style. She doesn't interview a child but put words in child's mouth. Kids have great inference of adults, so she takes full advantage of that. She interviewed Raja Hassan age 14. This interview is 28 pages long, so I only show the question asked by Ashley Wilsk. They conduct interview at Dawson Place. A new place for interrogation is always intimidating, and if someone like Ashley Wilsk conducting and coaching the child, then other party has no chance for fair trial.
Raja, and it just kind of happened a lot and I started to get scared. Wilsk, okay, and, still in the 5th grade at this point? Raja, yeah. Wilsk, he'd come into your room. And what and he would do it periodically during the night? Raja, no. Not just he kind of once, because then he'd leave as soon as I woke up. Wilsk, okay, so you walk in the room. Raja, and he did touch me. Wilsk, still on your breasts? Raja, and down in my pants. Wilsk, down in your pants. Raja, but this time it would be underneath the skin. Wilsk, underneath on the skin? Raja, underneath my clothes? Wilsk, okay, so he walk in the room, touched you underneath your clothes on your skin, on your breasts, down underneath your clothes, vaginally. Raja, yeah. Wilsk, what was his touch like vaginally down there? Raja, he would just touch me everywhere. Wilsk, everywhere, so like Hearn, well you've had your period right? Raja, Wilsk, okay. So, we have the outside of our vulva. Raja, he would go in. Wilsk, he would go all the way inside where you have your period? Raja, yeah. Wilsk, with like one finger or? Raja, yeah, and his whole hand would be down there and stuff and I'd wake up and he'd like run out. Wilsk, okay. Raja, and he'd be like SHH.
As a procedure, every alleged victim must examined by a nurse. The nurse Barbara Hayner examined Raja and found out there was no sexual assault in any sense. She has a master's degree from University of Washington. She has doing advanced nursing since 1976. She examined about 8,000 sexual assaults cases. She also teaches at University of Washington. She has an impressive educational background. She also teaches lawyers and law enforcement officers. Her interview consists of 33 pages, from 225 to 258. The prosecutor was unable to bring any evidence of sexual assaults except Raja. That plan was created by her mother, who tried to deport me numerous times before, as evidence shows, and Raja was couched by her mother. She is 14 years old girl and forgets what she said before and contradict herself, but state is going to punish me anyway. I was not aware what was happening because my English was very poor and I was unable to understand legal terminology. There should be an investigation about my case as well. We expect the people who protect the law of the land should be honest, but that is not the case with Cindy Larson, judge. That time she was a prosecutor and it was her first case. For her career she must win this case at any cost and put me in jail, an innocent person. Her objective was to convince the jury that I am a horrible person and shouldn't be trusted. If you search the court documents, you will find, she used 7 times the phrase testimony was simply implausible and not credible. I understand my English is poor, but that weapon she was using to advance her career and convict me. Page 482 line 13, this is ridiculous, I don't get erection. That is what he said the first time. Later he said, and I asked him again, you don't get erection? No. I don't get erections. I realized I didn't know the word erections, in my mind sex talk in front of my family. The lack of my English knowledge put me at bad spot in front of jury and she succeed. In her own words, Raja was not honest. Page 484 line 13, if, at the end of your deliberation, yes, she has lied once, yes there are some inconsistencies. The court didn't provide me any interpreter and put me on stand. Who has the burden of proof in a court case, the accuser or the accused? Generally speaking, in the U.S. the burden of proof is technically placed on the accuser, in both civil and criminal trials. Non-English speaking persons in the criminal justice system current state of the law. The protection of Sixth Amendment rights. Although no court has held that there is a direct constitutional right to an interpreter, several courts have held that an interpreter must be appointed to ensure the integrity of certain constitutional rights. Usually these decisions have been based upon the Sixth Amendment, particularly upon the right of a defendant to be confronted with the witnesses against him. The right of confrontation is one of the fundamental guarantees of life and liberty, and has been applied to state prosecutions through the 14th Amendment.